we're
So,
live now, man. No, we're live now.
okay,
All
cool,
right, so
cool.
everybody missed our warm moment, our tender moment there,
We could
which
just reenact
we could
it if you
reenact
wanted.
it.
That's a
Yeah.
nice Beatles poster.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah, we shared a Beatles moment. So, Roland, dude, thank you so much for taking time to do this. I really appreciate this, and bear with me. I haven't done this in a long time, so I feel like super out of practice with the software and shit. So if I screw this up, that's why. Let me just let folks know that we're live.
No worries.
And yeah. So, dude, thank you, man. I know you're a busy guy. You're a globetrotter. I want to start the conversation off with a question that Brian actually asked on the
Great.
last episode we did. So Brian joined. The last episode we did was like kind of like a free for all. People were jumping in and out, and when Brian jumped in, he asked a question. He said, "What is defiance?" And it's an interesting question, and I feel like one of the things that makes defiance cool is that defiance means different things to different people. So what does defiance mean to Roland?
Um, it's a good question. I guess, look, it's a hobby where a bunch of guys and girls come together and we just tell some stories, have some fun, hang out, and have 300 Discord channels, right? So that's what defiance is to me. It's no different in some ways. I look at it as like, I don't know, playing golf with your friends, going out, hanging out with group of people, or going to see your family or whatever. Just get together and just have some fun
Everybody's
and
got the
go
same
from there.
goal, generally, to contribute something in a positive way, to work together, hopefully collaborate, and tell cool stories. Which I think, yeah, when you're hanging out, I like that correlation. I like that correlation. Um, so Roland, I don't know a ton about you. I didn't. I don't think I really encountered you. Not that whatever. Not that that's how everything is based off of. Is when did Paul meet you? But I didn't really know about you and your brother and your contribution to the hobby until I returned to Defiance, or when Brian pulled me back in after my TEFP interview thing. So tell me a little bit like what your roots are in this hobby, and where was it that, because I feel like every writer finds themselves and figures their shit out somewhere. Where are your roots, and
Maybe I'm
where did you
still
figure it out?
trying to do that, but
Okay.
also, am I coming in okay here? Because my net connection sometimes isn't the best, so it's like a little blurry for me. But as long as
It's golden, brother. It's golden.
okay,
Yeah.
as long as it's good for you,
Yep.
I don't care how blurry I look on my end.
No,
Or
you're good. I think it's
um,
fine. Yeah.
no, I mean, hobby was so big. Like when we were kids, that I mean, I didn't know who Lindsay was, or I didn't know who Brian was. I feel like I, see there was like a CWA or something, or like
C-
it's got another letter in there, or
CSWA.
um, that's what it was.
Yep.
I felt like you steered me in the right direction, because I mean, I don't remember sometimes what I had for breakfast, right? So
Yep.
20 years ago, there was that. There was the CSWA. And then there was like another side of things too that was more like, I guess I would just define it as like FWO,
CWL.
WL,
Yep.
um, and then Asylum, like 21W, PIW, or whatever that came up that I was a part of. So like there was that whole other side. And I don't know, maybe I think the CSWA side was more like RP based or whatever. And my understanding was like there was kind of cliques that didn't like each other. And I just was on my side, and whoever I bumped into and met, I mean, apparently Billy, like when I ran Fed when I was like a dumbass kid, applied for my place, but he didn't get in. But I mean, you put applications out and get, I'm trying not to exaggerate here, like 50, 60 applications, and like tons of them would just be
The same
written
thing.
by like, yeah, or
Just
written by like a
insane.
5 year old or something. So it's just so big and so crazy. So yeah, there's a lot of people that I didn't necessarily know. Tom I knew, Renner, Brock, a few others. Yeah, and then I just wrote, and obviously you lose interest, you get a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think, the wrestling at its popularity, and then it dies down, and then I die down. And then, Ross, who wrote like along with me, is I think on Mikey's EFED podcast, which remains to be one of the most true things I can say is like growing up, my brother's a couple years younger than me. My parents always are like, include your brother, include your brother, include
Yep.
your brother, and like absolutely fucking everything. So
Yep.
he gets included.
Yep.
And
What's the age difference?
so
3 years? 3 years?
like 2.5,
Okay.
whatever.
My
Yeah.
brother and I. My brother.
Mentally, he's a lot.
He's older.
Mentally, he's a lot older than me, but
Okay.
physically, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, my brother and
Sorry,
I
Paul.
my brother and I are about 3 years apart, and we both I actually pulled him into the hobby. He's 3 years older than me, and I pulled him in for a little bit, like in probably 2000. All right, so I get it. So yes, I agree with you. There's definitely those two. There was those two circles or whatever you wanted to call it. That everybody seemed to come out of that same one of those two pools or crossed over. Between the two, I was more on the CSWA side. Although I did have a as for as long as CWL was a thing, I had a character there for a while too. So but there always was that little crossover too. But I'll be honest, I always look at like the CSWA fantasywrestling.com group as like this almost they took it serious, like super serious. To your point, role play. I don't think our circle had 50, 60 applications at a clip that your guys did, because I think you guys had the flashier look. You know what I mean? Like that whole circle really leaned into the posers and slick websites, and the CSWA was, here's the forum. Here you go.
And yeah, I think that's a good point. There were places, like as a kid, you look at it and be like, I'm never joining here. Like, form fed, screw that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to make a super long story short, like when I dropped out of the hobby, I think Ross got back into whatever fed, and now the name escapes me. GW, man. Anyways, so about like ago, he was writing, and I think there was like Lindsay was there, and Billy had a character. I butcher the name all the time. Valerina Victoria. I don't remember.
So wait, so was it GXW? GXW? Were you there?
GSW. No, I wasn't. I don't. Whatever fed he was in.
Okay.
He was like, "You gotta come back to the hobby. Come right, have fun," and I didn't. And then like, I guess when you just had left, Defiance was. Man, there was the forum, whatever forum that was still linked to the DEF website.
FantasyWrestling.com, F-Wrestling, whatever. Yeah.
FW forums, yeah, which now we took out. I just happened to know that link still. And like every year would occasionally click it and check it. And then I just saw
see if you knew the people, who's around, anybody I know, what are they doing? Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and I recognize like the Andy Murray name from Ross, and then like one or two others, and then I'm like, screw it, I'll just throw up an application. Yes, I'm gonna do this again, and then here I am, like 7-8 years later. So
nice. That's funny. Yeah. So you mentioned like angle versus role play. What's role play feds? I know you're active in. Are you active in Prime? No, you're active in How, right?
Yeah, I'm active in both.
You're How, Prime, and Defiance. Like, dude, how the hell do you have time to do anything? I barely. That's amazing.
No, it's getting to a point. I got really, really busy a few weeks ago, and I pulled like an all-nighter writing a role play. I'm like, I haven't done this since I was like 19 in like university. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. Man.
Yeah.
But no, I never, ever did role play fed before 2-3 years ago when when the pandemic happened, the world shut down. Like, I mean, it affected us all in various areas, right? Like in Scotland, when I was living there, like we had like hard curfew, like you couldn't leave like your place.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, I'll try role play fed because I'm kind of against the idea of it in some ways. Like I had seen before, and the places I'm in are I think relatively decent, but it's like, I role play against you and I beat you. I'm a better writer than you. No, not like somebody just liked my thing better than you.
Yep.
and it, I don't really like that side of
And I
things.
think so
So like,
oftentimes it leads to bullshit, or creates in people's heads. It creates doubt or issues. It's tough.
yeah,
It can be
yeah.
tough. It can be tough. So what do you prefer? You prefer the angle
Oh,
aspect more? Yeah.
angle 24/7. I mean, that's not to downplay
Yeah.
RP or anything. I think like RP works better in like a UFC type of scenario where you get like a match or so once every other month, or this kind of big event thing, because there are times where I will role play or I'll be in a tag match or something. I'm like, what's the point of this? Match doesn't really serve a purpose.
Right.
Like, I've already got my pay-per-view match set up or whatever, and I'm not going to use any of my good stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I enjoy it for different aspects. Like, it can tell different stories that I can never get that in depth in Angle. So it's,
And it is
I
nice
don't know.
beating
I've learned
people. It is nice beating people sometimes. Like
it
winning is
is
fun.
nice.
Yeah.
It is certainly, yeah. And
Yeah.
then it does help me sleep at night. So
Yeah. You feel it's, yeah, some type of validation. All right. So you mentioned how did you adapt to Defiance when you came in, as far as the arc docs, and because I feel like I feel, just from what I know, Defiance is pretty damn unique in how they do things from the backstage. When you take all of it and put it together, how was that transition for you?
I have watched everybody else who's been on here. I'm surprised Brian hasn't absolutely buried me. Because like when I first came in, I'm pretty sure that like there was an arc or two where he was on top of me. He's like, "I need your arc doc." I'm like, "Dude, I'm just gonna
I'm
submit
gonna
like what I
write. Don't
feel."
worry. Yeah, I'll have stuff. I'll have stuff for the show.
I don't know what's gonna happen next week yet. I haven't mapped it out. You'll just see something up there. But we had there was a time there, I think in like 2018 or so, where we had like 8 people
Yep.
writing,
Yep.
and like Seth was main eventing against
Seth was 7 of
himself
them.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
Seth was 7 of them.
Yeah. Seth was also myself. So, yeah.
That's great.
So, I mean, it was a little easier to keep track of then, where maybe like 8 people writing, just like I look at it like uncut, like I've just stopped doing rundowns for that. Just submit whatever, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
And a little difficult when you got like 18 matches for
Crazy.
pay-per-view, but
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. We'll get to what's been going on. So we kind of touched on kind of how you found the hobby, how Ross brought you back. Who are the writers, whether it's inside the hobby or out, currently active, somebody that nobody would know? Who are the writers that influenced you, do you think, in your early entry?
Yeah. I mean, when you're on that like FWO side of things, and then you're told that like the guy who runs it, sorry, I'm just for me, so
Dude,
it's a
trust
little
me,
rough.
I know.
Yeah, you told like the guy who runs it had ties in with the WWE, the Travis, and there were stories of like WWE wrestlers who were like doing some of the FWO, like handling a character for like a day or two or something as a joke. And there's all these rumors, whether or not they're true.
I never knew any of that. That's funny. Okay.
That's there's hysterical. One where like some ultraviolet storyline, it was a character.
Yep.
Ends up like being spoken out by like Jerry the King Lawler on some kind of segment, and he's like, "Oh, that's exactly like how Ultraviolet did this or that." It was, man, again, like 20 years ago, so I'm not gonna be able to remember very well, and whether or not that's true. I mean, anyways.
Yep.
Sorry, long-winded. So I go to a lot of the FWO stuff. Scott Slugger was a character. I don't know any of the guys who handled them. Kevin Flying Frenchie was one for sure.
Yep. Same.
There was a guy who handled the Boston Strangler.
I remember the Boston Strangler. I remember that. Yeah.
He wrote a really incredible series that I wish I could grab on the Wayback Machine. And it was just, I kind of looked at his character kind of like, at the time, I think more like an Undertaker type of like legendary character, like a big guy, kind of quiet, doesn't really talk a lot, more of like a a menacing figure from my recollection.
Yep.
He wrote a really good like role play series of just him like checking into a hotel and like interacting with like a bellhop and then just like going through his day-to-day life. And I just remember reading that and it was like 10 parts or something, being like, this is really well written. Like this just isn't just some dumbass kid named Roland in his parents' basement writing some real fucking cringe shit. But like,
so that stands out for you. Like I know what you mean. Like when you come across those writers and it's like, wow, like this is something I could do. That's something. Yeah, it is interesting. I've got those too. It is funny. Like years ago for me, 20, 25, 23 years ago, I remember Greg was that guy for me, just reading his shit, his role plays. He was just such a good shit talker. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, wow. And now I know him and it's, even more impressive.
Tom Ford was one. There was IWC or IWO.
Let's see, I think.
Yeah, was it C?
Yeah.
And I was like high flyer, and I just remember reading some stuff. And so I worked some of that in, like when Tom was in How, because Connor is a character there, my character there, we ran an angle and I used it as like high flyer is Connor Fuse's role model, like growing up. Like that's why he flies around and runs around and all that stuff, and kind of shifted a little bit of that over to Defiance, but used Tyler instead as the anti, as like, I hate wrestling, you got my brother into wrestling, I hate you, and like I think we're gonna go a lot deeper into that for the next little bit. So
that's true in a sense for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. So let me ask you, how is Connor pronounced? I want to make sure I get that right. I think people at home want to make
the O's are capitalized or the C's capitalized, depending on who you ask, right? So.
Is that basically it though? Is it a vibrato type of?
I believe that started with Ross, who obviously uses Malik and just was capitalize every other letter just to make it look like you're stupid. Yeah. And then like Lindsay's picked it up and others have picked it up.
That's kind of how I read it. It's like, oh, Connor, like, oh, comments Connor.
I like that.
I love that you don't even have that in your head. That's great. All right. So I asked Seth this question. So I'll ask you, how would you define your role on the staff?
I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I try not to overplay or even like really using the term staff at all. Right? I think we're all collectively, everybody like in this. Yeah, somebody's got to put some of the stuff together and get the stuff up, or yell at people if their bell ringing isn't correct, which
I'll get to that.
Like to do. I will defend myself on that. I came ready.
I don't think you need to. I understand. I get the formatting thing. We'll talk about that.
Good,
man.
No, I just somebody's got to put some of the stuff together, and that's what I look at it like. But it's run collectively, all of us. I think like staff. I don't know. My role is I'll take the ARC docs. I'll put them together, and we'll go from there. And then me, Seth, and Tom, and to some level Brian, from where he is when he's interested.
Or you figure out who's going to post the show. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. No worries, man.
Let my cat out.
It's just you got a cat?
Yeah, multiple. I love my cats, man. It's a problem.
Yeah.
Two.
I don't.
But I would have 4.
That's cool.
Yeah.
My dad was allergic to cats and dogs when we were kids, so we never had. I had goldfish, but when they would swim upside down, my mom would tell me they were so good they had to go to the goldfish circus. So,
have you? You really should visit that. By the way, it's the good season.
Still looking, and apparently I don't know what country it is.
So I kind of put you down. My answer to that question, like kind of the weaver of arcs, because that is sort of one of your, I feel probably the most vital functions you perform is taking, in this case, I think it ended up being 14. Originally it was like 17, but I think we whittled down or combined or whatever happened. But 14 arc docs and crafting a coherent path to satisfy everybody as much as you can, which has to be a
A few
challenge.
people did drop out, so I think that a couple arc docs just died off. But
But I think it was like
yeah,
I think it was like 14 matches for this last show, which is a lot.
oh yeah, it was. Second here, it was a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But like so, what
I'm still
percentage?
here.
Oh, did I lose you? Oh, there you go.
No, I'm still here. I'm good. I'm good.
What percentage? What percentage of putting all that together is fun, and what percentage of it is frustrating?
You know what? Honestly, it's all fun. I actually really like doing that. I I will read your notes, like your segment notes. Sometimes people go like very very little on the like the extra notes, right?
Yep.
Like at the match or segment.
Yep.
Other people go long. I actually am pretty bad. I tend to put everything in. So like if
Mm.
it's a big segment, I have a paragraph that's like Tyler will then do this, Tyler will then do that. And then when I rewrite the stuff, I'm just going directly off and deleting those lines until I get to a point. So like for me, it's very important, but I love reading that. And then I'm like, okay, this sounds good. It will go near the start or this will go near the end. And I will really try to accommodate everybody and keep in my head to make sure, okay, Seth has one, he closes off one of the nights or so then he can't, unless it's really counted or really really needed, close off one or two def tvs.
Yep. But again, like that's a balancing act. It's a balancing act too, and I feel like it's one of those things where, um, I imagine it is fun because you get to kind of see what everybody's doing and ahead of time, obviously, which is cool, and then
Yeah.
look for trouble if you have to, but also um, piecing it together has to be neat. But I like your comment about the segment notes because I don't know if and I think this is good for people listening or watching or whatever the case may be to think about how they do that because I know there have been times where and oftentimes I'll just come up with shit like like
Oh,
I'll decide, that Nigel's going to take this bump. I wanted to do, but like I appreciate when you look at the card, this last card. Hey, these matches have blood, right? And this match, there's going to be ref bumps. I think people need to be more conscious of, for your sake and for everybody's, so that there's not a ton of duplication, so that you can kind of see shit coming, prevent redundancy or whatever. I know just myself as a writer, I'm going to think more about what really is going to happen. Okay, you're having a match, you know who's going to win, fine, but I think you need to know more than that to put it all together.
sure. And I mean, a couple of things. One, if things change on your end or anybody else's end, it's all good, no
Yeah.
worries. And two, like can only do so much. So yeah, like the blood, table spot, ref bump, etc., etc. And maybe I'm gonna look at that. I'm trying to make a more conscious effort of that for like the pay per views, but the rest of the
Mm.
stuff, like maybe not so much.
Mm.
And then like some of my stuff changed. I think I called like a table break, an answer table break on like Connor versus Dex. I'm like, I'm writing it. I'm like, this doesn't really make sense to do. So we're just taking it out. But it does at least help in terms of like where I'm going to put stuff. And I try to be extremely conscious of like where I'm putting my stuff. Like everybody loves their own writing and their own stories. And it's like, Roland, you got like the main event here or something, like you're done. Or maybe even try to be a little bit harder. But I also know I'm in a feud with somebody else too, where it's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
okay,
True.
but
That's true. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I give you an example of Joe last arc. He had his announcement that Reform was going to challenge Elon Musk, and I just read his description, his like 3 or 4 sentences. I'm like, this is really good,
Mm.
and I messaged him. I'm like, if you're cool with it, this ends the show.
Yep.
Because like, well, we try to do mostly matches ending the show. I'm like, Joe is really good writer.
Yep.
Everybody is.
I know.
I'm like, this he'll hit it out of the park, and that's one of my favorite segments.
So
I think
good. So
last
good.
bit is just
But you're right though.
yeah,
I think you're able to kind of, to your point, you get like the overhead view and all right, what makes the most sense? Um all right, so who sucks at formatting? Let's name names. And like I feel like at one
okay.
point it was me, because I get
No,
confused. What do I italicize? What am I bolding?
no, you're all right. Everybody's pretty good. I'll tell you who's terrible, and that's fine. But he's good dude. So I mean, everybody is. Gorman is brutal. Gorman is terrible. I probably told him this before. Nothing I wouldn't say to anybody else. So I always give Joe the option to. He's the lead
Got
writer
it.
there to be judged at post. Um, Greg was pretty bad for a bit.
Yep.
Greg took all that feedback and has been like, Greg's been great.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Way to go. Hey, Gorman, be better, man. Gorman, be better. Happy birthday. Happy belated.
Happy birthday, Gorman. Everybody gets some stuff wrong.
Yes.
You know, I submitted something to Prime, and then Lindsay goes to me. She's like, "You're really bad at formatting," and I'm like, "Oh shit."
You know that she loved delivering that message. You know it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was, but that well, I'll go back to whenever you bring up the bell ringing thing, those two stories will coincide. So
okay, all right, interesting. All right. So what was your word? What's been your hardest experience? I originally wrote worst experience as a staff member, but what's the hardest experience? Like, was there a scenario that was tough to handle, or
yeah,
what's the hardest?
yeah. I mean, when there's people who don't necessarily like each other, you talk openly. It's all good. And, I mean, obviously, Dwayne GPV or whatever was really tough on. You weren't there yet, right, Paul? No.
No.
So he was tough. There was the Chris Ross incident too, that he was. I mean, I don't need to get into specific details, but caused some sort. We had a period there where it's like 3-4 months of there was
bullshit.
We all don't look. We all don't have to be best friends. I'm sure we're all not best friends. I'm sure my demeanor online sometimes here and there can rub some people the wrong way because I'm not taking a whole lot seriously. But like, we all don't have to be best friends, but we can still coincide and try to get along. But when there's a line that gets crossed and goes a little bit too far, that's not fun. Because I look at it like, at the end of the day, I respect everybody that's taking the time out of their day to sit around and write and like to be as honest with you as possible. Like, real life can be really, really tough.
Yeah.
I work an extremely serious job. And the last thing that I want to do when I sign on is take a whole lot seriously, get caught up in a lot of needless fucking bullshit, for lack of a better term. And let's just have some fun and we'll try to figure it out and go from there. Right. So,
do you have a good GVP story? Seth kind of alluded to like a really good.
I just have a rant, and I'm sure I've said this rant. I definitely did in staff chat. So okay. This fucking guy comes in, right? And sorry, we're a little bit here.
Oh, I love it.
He wants. I mean, he never said it specifically, but he's like really alluding to just wanting a title, right? Because he kept being placed in like these feuds, long story short. And he's like, what's the purpose of this? Well, dude, it's an angle fed. You create your own purpose, like create a story. But he wouldn't just come out and say he wanted a title.
Yep.
What my rant is all this guy has to do is play the game. And what I mean by that is, it's an angle fed. I'm Oprah. We're like, everybody gets a title. Everybody's going to have, like, there's a fist for Corvo Alpha. There's a fist for Lindsay Troy. There's a fist for Henry Keese. There's a fist for Malik Garland. Everybody's going to want to see that one day, even if we pretend we don't want to, because obviously the character would be a lot of fun. You can get whatever you fucking want out of this as long as you just play the game. As long as you make some angles, create some storylines,
make some friends, make some friends.
Why wouldn't I? As staff or not, or whatever, why wouldn't I want to go to somebody and be like, hey, you want to run with a title here, the tag belts, the Soher or something like that? I understand it will take a while because in order to tell a good story, you're only looking at like a couple of champions a year with the way that we break things up.
Yep.
But it's like, why wouldn't I want you to tell what you want to tell and to have a good time? But you got to have some patience. It took Gage Blackwood, it took me like 5 years to get the fist. And that was in a 9-person fed for a couple of years, right? So like, I'm sorry, there's a wait line and whatnot, and not like, it's just play the game. And it's the same with some others who have come in and they've got very discouraged when they haven't gotten a title and then they left. And also, this is just my view, but what's a title? Like, and Corvo Alpha versus MV1. That, in my opinion, probably isn't as good of a feud if it has a title, because it doesn't need one, because the story is so,
it's pointless. Why bother?
What? But
right.
But when there's a time that comes or something, of course, like
right. In a different situation, yeah.
Just so my whole rant is, again, this guy, he wants a title, but he's like, all you have to do is just play along, tell some stories, have some fun, and of course, and then also, if maybe you're a little disgruntled or something, or maybe it's been a certain period of time, you can come and message me or Seth or Tom or Brian. And I don't think that we're bad dudes who would, we rip on Brian a lot. He has said something that, is one. I don't want to tell people, no, you can't play here. No, you can't sit with us like Mean Girls. That's my twist on it, right?
Yep.
No, come have fun, and we'll go from there. And, if you're disgruntled, if you were like,
but you have to play the game. But you have to play the game. You have to play in the world we've got. You've got to try. You have to be patient. Yeah, I agree. By the way, Brian in the chat wants to remind you that, don't forget, we were going to give him a tag title run, and then he broke his own tag team up.
Yeah, that was before I was staff, but because he had a different run before that for like a very, very short period. And yeah, he was going to get absolutely everything he wanted, and then he changed. And I mean, it's just. But that's
that's very accommodating, and it's frustrating when people don't see that. Again, what's funny is, I said at the last show, I don't want to make this a show where we just bash this guy, because I never met this guy. You know what I mean? But it is interesting, yeah.
And sorry, just to clarify or to end this, I don't even necessarily really just mean him. There's been other people that's has happened as well. And to clarify on when I say play the game, I also mean, have fun. You got to job your characters out sometimes. Like, it's not just about wins, that you can tell stories through losses.
Absolutely.
You got to, and you got to submit your stuff on time, do some feedback here and there. It doesn't have to be every single check mark every single time.
Yep.
But you gotta, you get what you put into this. It's a hobby. It's for fun. We are all not getting paid. We are adults who are, I don't know.
It is amazing. It is, but you're right though. Like, at the end of the day, like, it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be, if you want to win, go in an RP fed. Go beat somebody.
Go in an RP fed, then you can beat me, and then you can sleep at night, and know that you're better than me. So.
All right, so you want to play the game? Do you want to play the game?
I mean, I'll play. I'm do whatever you want
to
do.
Okay, we're gonna play.
Scared.
We're gonna no. I'm scared. You don't know how much work this was to make this happen. Because, like, you're a hard guy. You're a tough cookie. Putting together this game show was a challenge. You posed a challenge.
You would think so.
Okay.
You would think so. When I was watching the Joe and Gorman one, there's like a couple of questions where I'm screaming at the screen. I'm like, you guys are I'm wrong, and they're either right or we're all wrong. So.
Okay, all right. Well, I felt like you like, because you weave all of the stuff together, because you go through and format the show, you're probably up on Defiant. So I feel like you would have aced a lot of the Jeopardy. I feel like you would have aced the Brian game that I did with Seth.
The Brian game.
Just say no. Just say no, right? And you're pretty good. Right. I had some other ideas up my sleeve, but what I settled on is a game called Who's Talking Smack. All right, so that's the game. That's the game we're gonna play. We're gonna try this, but the game show is called Who's Talking Smack. So here's what I came up with. I took, if you're familiar with, and bear with me, I'm gonna screw up something as I do this, no doubt. But if you're familiar with the Defiance website, then no doubt you are familiar with this little box here. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna read you. I went through and I randomly selected. Please don't cheat, by the way. I don't think you would.
I won't. I will take a hard 0.
Okay. So what I did was I took a handful. I took a lot. I picked a lot of these.
Okay.
And like, for example, I would read to you or show you if there's one thing I've learned over the years, blah, blah, blah. And you would say, that's Tyrone Walker, Paul, because clearly
I
that's
don't even know who. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're good.
neither do I. But I tried to make it like where, I tried to make it where these are people that you probably would know or have interacted
Yeah,
with. Certainly. I don't think there's nobody here that you haven't interacted with. So,
okay.
all right. So we're gonna go with the first one, and please, let's see. Please, Paul, don't screw this up because this is so easy to screw up.
I
Right
hope
now.
this is levels to it, like the easy question.
I have no idea. All right. So the first one is draw your line in the sand, woman. I've made a career crossing every single one put in front of me. So who said it?
Ah, man. I already. Draw and Sand Woman. So it's got to be somebody against like. I say. I'll say the D, but I'm probably wrong on that. So.
All right, the D is your answer. The answer is Bronson Box. Welcome back to Defiance. Welcome back to Defiance, Bronson Box. By the way,
I knew it would be against Lindsay or like Ellis. Yeah.
Right. So let me ask you. So, I'll kind of incorporate an interview as I do this. So, what are you more excited about, having Bronson Box back or having Evan back in Defiance?
Oh, I mean, you go with the handler all the time, not the character. So, like, it's good that Evans. I don't know him too well, but we talked a little bit. I will say, you want to tune into the first FTV back because there'll be something that I'm really excited for. That I know that's going to be happening with Bronson Box. So,
all right, awesome. I like that. Nice little teaser. All right, so we'll go with question 2. Make the fist great again. Do you know?
Yeah, this one's Scott Stevens. Yeah.
That is Scott Stevens, and that's also embarrassing.
Yeah, there's he won the ace. He won the ace of Defiance, which is like the Money in the Bank, right? Yep. And then I remember that was the time where we only had like 8 or 9 handlers, and there was an arc there where I guess I wasn't staffed yet, but I do know Brian went to him and was like, "Hey, we don't really have something for you." He's like, "It's all right. I can just keep this rolling for a little bit." And then he just did like a whole arc of make the fist great again. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey, and that sounds like, all right. Nice attempt. All right. So this one is, let me turn that back on. All right. My act of defiance, I'll take the head of the snake.
Oh, man. I mean, there's...
I'll give you a hint. This person is retired from wrestling.
Retired from wrestling. Oh, Scott Douglas?
Very good. Yeah, Sub Pop Scott Douglas. Very good.
Yeah. I'm going to defend myself and say half these quotes probably came on cards from long ago or uncut.
Maybe. So. All right, so this one I don't even remember. In all honesty, with everything you and your buddies have put me through, I should break every bone in your body. This wrestler, I will tell you, let me just double check, is somebody who is no longer in Defiance.
I mean, I'll say Jay Harvey, but again, that was
correct answer. Okay. Correct answer. Very good. Very good. All right, you're
doing. I feel like that quote was against like Gage Blackwood, so I think I lucked out a little bit there.
Jay Harvey. Jay Harvey's got a lot of quotes up there. He went crazy.
He does. He's got a lot. That guy, I gave him a hard time once. I was like, you just put every line in this.
Everything you ever said, anything you ever wrote is up there. All right, so be worried.
Yeah, this is Count Novik.
Very good. The great thing is, I don't think Brian would have got that. That's the best part.
Right, dude. Brian can't get that. He can't be told there's a guy who thinks he's a vampire.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna edit that out of this episode. All right, question 6. I have no qualms going to HR with a complaint.
I mean, I'll take a guess and I'll just say this is Mallet Garland. But
very good. Yes. Very good. Gotta love it. Oh, gotta love it.
What a douchebag.
Seriously, right? I mean, grade A.
The handler just.
Oh, that's a whole other. We're gonna get there. C, wrestling. Are you not entertained?
Yeah, I feel like man,
it's the fucking D. It's the D.
Is it the D? I was going along.
I get it by mistake. Damn it.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say maybe like I thought, because that was obviously they're entertainers, right?
Yep,
And it
yep.
was like go against the grain on that. I was gonna say maybe that was Elise Ayres. So
Yeah, I could
I
see that.
wouldn't have got it 100%. Yeah, no worries.
All right, man. So let's go to number 8 here. Gage, if I find you, I'm going to break off your arm and stick it up your ass.
Jesus. So I mean, a part of me wants to like who have I feuded with him? It's been a year, right?
Right.
So
Right.
okay, I'm gonna just say Chris Ross,
Okay.
but
Because
I
you
feel
heard like because he would say I was going to rip your limb off, and yeah, I could. All right,
I gotta give me
go
one
ahead. Yeah,
second
you're
to
fine, man. Absolutely.
try to
Take your
think
time.
who I feuded with him last. Oh, Jay Harvey, it says there. Yeah.
Oh shit! Did I do it again? God damn it! All
It's
right,
all good.
damn it.
I mean, it was gonna be either Chris or Jay Harvey, so
Right.
that
Okay.
was like
All right. I screwed that up.
it's all good,
All
man.
right. All right. The masks don't come off. That's rule number 1.
I say minute, but minute or whatever.
Good,
That would be my guess.
it's a very good guess, but it is unfortunately incorrect.
It's past. That's where I was going to go with this. Also, was going to be MV1. Yeah.
All right. Now here's maybe one of my favorite ones in here. I think if this is the one. This is a great line. This company runs on the chaos I create. Without me, the engine starts seizing up. I'm the beating heart of defiance. Only way you lot are going to be rid of me is if you put me in the bloody ground.
Henry Keys.
That's a good fucking guess, but you just gave me
It's
a great. That's a feud I want to see. Shit.
A lot of Evan stuff. Yeah, I mean, I know he was here and there a little bit, but like, yeah, depending on where he's
Bronson Box is like one of my top 5 characters that I've ever read. I love everything that he does. So you're in for a treat. Everybody's in for a treat. All right, I'm gonna skip ahead to this one here because this is a good one. All right, how deranged, how demented, how indoctrinated does a fan base have to be to refer to itself as the faithful? It's telling. You see, the fans of Defiance, the maladjusted mutants from New Orleans, are not fans at all. They're a cult, a brainwashed contingent of emotionally stunted imbeciles cheering on nonsense. They worship mediocrity. They make heroes out of scoundrels and fools.
Ned Reform.
Man, Doctor. That's Doctor Ned Reform.
Doctor
That's
Ned
Doctor
Reform.
Ned Reform. Man,
Joe has some like. I really like Pat Cassidy, and I mean, I think everybody is obviously again really talented, but
yeah.
he has 2 completely different characters that have totally different voices. I really respect that. And
Yeah.
His Reform rants are just
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, they're good. They're good. Although I will recommend, if you haven't checked out the latest Def Radio, Strasma put together maybe one of the greatest promos. I think Joe called it the greatest promo in Defiance history. On there, it's about 49 minutes in. Scroll up, it's worth it.
All right, I'll listen to the whole thing.
I'm just saying. All right, so let's get to our next one here. This is one of my favorites. Let me pronounce this properly. Sorry, not sorry.
Man, Lindsay Troy.
Ridiculous. Oh, gotta love it.
That would make sense.
That does make sense, right? All right, see, tonight we'll both find out how far the other is willing to go, but for you, this is the last time you'll ever think of me and smile. This is somebody who is no longer in Defiance.
Okay.
Definitely somebody you've worked with, though, I would imagine.
Definitely somebody I've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
No longer in Defiance. Cale Murray.
Good guess.
Would be my guess.
Dan Ryan. Yeah. All right, so let's do this one here. This might be the last one. You have failed Defiance.
This is Tyler Fuse.
Very good. Yeah, very nice.
At least know my own stuff. So I took that from Arrow. It's like when I changed
failed this city.
When I changed him to like not be video games anymore, I'm like, I still think it would be cool if he had like a line in there that was like still kind of video game comic book like reference, and then that's where it came from.
So tell me about the Fuse brothers and and where that team came from, and what do you like? I know you and I have talked, I think, privately about how far out you plan things. There's certain characters that you have mapped out for maybe 6 months to a year. Certain characters that nothing concrete. Where are you at with your guys right now?
So like I know I can have a million ideas and thoughts and whatnot. And maybe a few years ago, I was mapping out some rough stuff in my head for like a year or so. That still kind of remains the same with Tyler and Connor. Like I have an idea of maybe a year out, and I have other ideas like, something that if we happen to still write for like a number of years, something I'd like to, I know it could get down to um, down the road. Fuse Brothers, I created them. I got into FWO, but it was so big at the time. There was some minor league. There was a minor league like OSW or something like that. So I
Okay.
wrote with them there, but I only wrote for a very short period of time. Then they came up to the main roster. I only wrote with them for a very short period of time. And then now being an adult, I'm like, I still really want to explore this story. And these guys, I'm just going to reset their age. If that's a problem for anybody, then just think of it as like, these are the Fuse Brothers kids or something like
Right.
that.
Right.
Just using the same names because I really only like scratched the surface. And back then, actually, Tyler and Connor were two of the same. They were both like Connor Fuse. And then when it just kind of, I wrote this choose your own adventure role play series. It wasn't
Screamland.
the Halloween one
Okay.
that this was before that even. It was like 10 parts or something. I just wrote this role play series where I just started to write it as like one is a straight guy and one is just all over the place. And in a way, kind of like I feel like I take both parts of me and I kind of split it in half. And Ross tends to be more serious than I am, and when I am the very much more like high strung, annoying one. So it's I kind of base a little bit of that off our relationship. Just flip it. The younger one is it's just kind of worked out to be that way. Obviously, I know Connor gets a lot of attention, and I'm very I mean I'm flattered that anything that I write could get a little bit of attention. But I want to work more on Tyler. I think if like this was real, I feel like Tyler would be more even appreciative because I look at him as like a really like a Bret Hart type of wrestler who's maybe like looks like he hits really hard and like um, wrestles above his weight class and everything and the kind of I think I read it a little bit too much that he's like always stoic and whatnot, but
Mm.
just like this pen you can't get a read on him demeanor, which I think would be fun. I always loved the Chris Jericho iteration when he wore suits and he talked monotone and um, that kind of aspect of him. But anyways, yeah, I have ideas. I do have a couple of big ones that I will eventually get to for them. So
Nice.
yeah,
So, which of your, because you know, Greg mentioned he's kind of he's trying to create the Melton verse, right? This little world that he can populate. You kind of have the Connor verse to a degree, with
yeah.
the comments section. Like you know, you have like you and Ross, I think, have this this peripheral background cast of characters to pull off of and play off of and let other people play with, which is cool.
Yeah,
Which character or which story are you most excited about telling next? Like as far as this next arc goes, out of all the shit you got going on, which one is like this is the one that I think people are gonna or I have to tell?
you know, I'm actually at a point where between both of them, I kind of have things a little bit open right now where Connor is. I'm pretty sure I have an idea of what I want to do for DEFCON next year, which I think will be a lot of fun. I think that'll be the big thing that I can get to. And then in between, then I'm just kind of throwing ideas around with a few guys right now. But ultimately, I mean, I do love the rival like Brett Sean. That comes to mind. Obviously, I do love. I like AEW, the Elite and Hangman kind of story.
Yep.
That story that never goes away or kind of intertwines. And by no fault, like we weren't set out to actively do this. I think Malik and Connor actually like really have a good chemistry there. where it's funny, they're both actually not really opposites of each other. They're kind of similar in many ways, I think. And
It's kind of like it's almost like The Rock and Steve Austin, how they both like came up together, not necessarily. Well, yeah, I guess they did feuded with each other along the way, but like always there's it's easy to just to make that story happen because and now there's so much history, like it would take no effort for you two to be like, hey, so we're gonna do Connor and Malik this next arc and be easy,
yeah,
because all that's there.
I'm going to try to be conscious though. Like they've kind of had a split now, so we're going to keep them apart for a bit. But I do have like numerous ideas in my head of kind of like this never ending story between them and also Tyler and how he gets more weaved into it as the years go on.
Nice.
I have a really uh, like I feel like one of the best stories that I could possibly tell, but I can't. It's got to be a few years from now. Like a few other things have to happen, but you can always maybe let one other person know or something one day off message. But like, yeah, that's fun for me. Just kind of is with Gage. I kind of had a little bit of that with Rob actually for a bit. Mushigahara and Gage were actually kind of friends for a long time. And then there was kind of storytelling there. And when Chris Ross was a part of things, kind of him and Blackwood were like rivals. But obviously Chris isn't here anymore writing. And then Rob, I think, is just going in the way of David Fox for Defiance. But like that world building stuff, no matter what, is really cool, right? You look at what Ben and I had just been messing around on the board about Henry Keys and Connor. Like that's something that I think would be really awesome to get to too. And there's all sorts. I would love to go back to Corvo and Connor. We only did the one match.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the victory there. I owe you one big time because I felt like at the time that was a huge victory for Connor. There's all sorts of ways to go. Everybody's got really good characters. You look at Pat Cassidy, Connor history too is really good. I mean, there's all sorts of different ways to explore. But sorry, I'm going off on a
No, but you
tangent.
mentioned Gage Blackwood, so obviously gone for a year. I feel like at the time you had kind of said you were kind of bored with him or kind of lost your voice or something. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a reason why. There was a reason why you were like, I'm kind of done with him for now.
It was kind of all of that, and also it's the point of only list. I have like a ton of characters that I would like to run and do, but just don't like something that in my work is you can ask, like something that I talk to people about all the time is you can ask for something that's not unreasonable, but like, is it realistic? And to be honest with yourself there. And it's like, yeah, I'd love to still keep Gage going. And I'd love to handle Kyle Shields because there's a real like inner douchebag inside of me. That's just like, I would love to write that. And there's a lot of voices in my head, but you just can't. I just don't have the time. I promised some people beforehand kind of like an end to wrap up the Gage Blackwood story about like why he got taken out and stuff. So I'll bring him back for a bit. I'll try to be very conscious of like now having 3 characters again. While Tyler can't take a back seat anymore, I have to really make him something, and then probably just because I'll have to, Gage will go away again. So maybe next year around this time. But
Interesting. Okay.
yeah,
Nice. So you mentioned Mushigahara and David Fox. Obviously, Rob's one of those writers too, who I feel like is incredibly consistent, and because of that, sort of flies under the radar in a weird way. Are there writers out there that you feel like, and this is a question I ask everybody, like if you is there somebody out there you feel like a Rob or whatever that doesn't give them their flowers today while they're here? Like who would you want to shout out on the Def roster?
I mean, honestly, I think everybody really does a good job. I think Ben is still incredibly underrated with what he's doing with Henry Keys. He writes in Prime and a different character there, but he's really, really good. I feel like Brian himself doesn't give him enough credit for when he writes with Scott Douglas. I mean, here is this guy, this person, this handler who likes Gilmore Girls and then grunge music or whatever, and then he writes with Scott Douglas. So like those are two completely, and Victor Vassio.
Right.
I, Tom doesn't really write as much these days anymore, but like he can still absolutely bring it. When we were against each other in How, so I had Connor was carrying around all these. So long story short, High Flyer was acting like a mentor to Connor, but then he just beat Connor up before a match, threw him in the ring, and fed him to Mike Best, and Mike Best beat him in this tournament match. And like it just devastated Connor, like your hero that just randomly beat you up. And then Connor for the next few weeks was like carrying around this big sack, and nobody knew what was in the sack. Well, it was Connor revealed in a segment. It was a bunch of tapes because he was a big tape trader, High Flyer tape trader when he was a kid because he loved High Flyer. And then Connor goes to just beat the shit out of High Flyer in the middle of the ring and like with all the tapes and just smashing them over his head. And Tom writes that part of the beating. And it was excellent. Like I really, really liked it. He's very good.
Yeah, I think that's another great answer. That's a great answer. Is there somebody that you haven't done a full arc with that you like? Who would you want to work with, or don't try not to spoil what you do have coming necessarily, but
yeah.
What are you excited? Like, who would you want to?
I would like to work with everyone. To be honest with you, I would like to work with yourself. I would love to do something Connor and Corvo. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I want to, dude. I'm telling you, MV1 and Tyler.
MV1 and Tyler would be really good. Yeah, that'd be maybe even some kind of like collection of the four of them there somehow one day. I'm a little sad about the whole Nigel Tricklebush. I loved him. Great name, great everything about him. I hope to see him back as what was it? It was I had the name. It was something like whatever. Come back with a mustache and
yes. Dingle nuts,
dingleberries. Yeah,
yes, yeah. Well, I'll tell you. Gorman messaged me. This is a Talking Ourselves to Death exclusive. Gorman messaged me and offered Lord Nigel a spot as a bartender at Ballyhoo Brew. Which
you gotta do.
I could just see him like poisoning people randomly or whatever. Oh man, I don't know if their insurance could cover it.
Gorman and I'll keep Joe out. I've already given Joe too much praise. Gorman's a great dude.
He's hysterical. He's hysterical. But we decided, and actually, Roland, maybe as staff, you can start get the ball rolling on this. But we decided that anybody who joins Defiance, they agree that when they leave, their character goes to work at Ballyhoo Brew part time.
I love that.
So like Jay Harvey's sweeping floors. Scott Stevens is like the angry bouncer. So like we there's something there.
Gage Blackwood will then go away for a little bit again, but he'll
wash dishes,
work as DJ or something. Yeah, he'll be the bus boy. That'll be great. He'll love that. So.
Yeah, I like it. All right. So, what is a character in Defiance that you would want to take over for an arc? Like, is there a character that like is there anybody that you're like, man, I would love to just play in that sandbox with that character? For me, years ago, it would have been Bronson Box, but now I can't. So,
yeah, I'll give you two because the one is kind of a cop-out easy. Like Malik Garland. I think that's why I really like. Yeah, I get it. He's my brother and it's easy to feud and stuff and we can talk about shit. Also, I live on the opposite side of the country, so we don't talk every single freaking second. But I love, like, I will put some things down and I will write a line or two of Malik and Ross actually won't necessarily change it. And I love just being that. Joe said something always very interesting. I think I brought it up before. It was like, we're all our own characters in some way, right? Like where you find the voice for that. And then he said, I wonder where Ross finds the voice for Malik Garland. And I said, the internet instead of himself, right? But it is very true. You get caught up in a little bit of it. Lots of people do. I certainly try not to, but you go on Twitter and it's just a cesspool of madness where how can you click on just I don't know, go to Joe Biden's anybody and
Yep.
just go read some of the replies afterwards.
Yep.
And then I just have like 400 ideas for how I could put some Malik Garland comment in there. And it's
Amazing.
just, I love that. And there is a day I will spoil one thing because who knows if it'll happen. This isn't in my, there's a day where Connor Hughes goes all in with Malik Garland, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
that's spoiling really anything where then I get my version of to write the most annoying,
Right.
like,
Right. Right. Whereas
self hurt,
Malik is sly and like savvy and
passive aggressive
passive
to the
aggressive,
definition.
whereas Connor is like hyped up, and if you give him the ability to really, run the comment section or whatever, yeah, I could see that being fun. I could see
Which
that.
maybe my only regret was like he was a heel when they first went singles, but a little bit before when you got
Hmm.
in. Um, and it was getting over so much that it's like, okay, if this was real life, you turn into a face.
Yep.
I've been trying to write him as a heel in How for like the longest time, and Lee keeps telling me, no, you're fit. I had this small little run as a heel, and then something happened where he immediately went back to face, and I was like,
What's 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 funny is for research for this, because I had a different idea for my game show, but as part of that, I went back and I was reading a lot of your early shit where he was a heel and feuding with Sub Pop Scott Douglas and Kerry Kuriyama with Tyler and like all that shit, and I'm like, oh man, it's the same character, but it's he just. And then like
it is.
I think I found the segment where the fans accepted him and he went, yeah, so yeah, it was good, it's good shit.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's okay. You're all very good.
So let me ask you. So you mentioned that you and Ross now live on the opposite side of the country. Um,
Yeah.
so this is a way that you guys maintain a relationship in a way. Talk about your brother. Put your brother over for a minute. This is really what this is about. This is and he's. Oh, I just got Venmoed $50 from Ross. So perfect. But yes,
Did you
talk.
actually?
No, no. Tell me why. Like what that writing relationship is for you guys.
No, I mean it's easy. He's a good dude. He's game for everybody. Pretty much everybody is in Defiance game for anything, right? But it's easy to do. Like look at the aims arc. I always had this idea in my head about Tyler and Princess. I wish it went a little bit longer, to be honest with you. Just kind of picking on somebody, and then just like Tyler just verbally destroys her and stuff like that. And he's just along for the ride. And that's one character I can't write. Like
Mm,
Teresa Ames, I
mm,
put lines in there. I'm like, dude, you have to just. I can't think like the way you do with her, but yet then I have my own female character in Prime that's just I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it's easy to work with him. He's got some ideas I throw around. It's easy in the sense that like um I know he's committed or I know I'm committed. Like we're not sure things could change or something like that, but I don't know. I if I Defiance will be the last place that I write, if that makes sense. Like I will leave the anywhere else before I leave here, and I'm I can find time for one Fed for maybe a number of years. Like I have no intention of closing the place down. If people want to stay and write, and like anybody is all staff left or something, wants to write. So like it's easy to just place trust in Ross to be there, right?
mm,
So that's like we can build off of this
mm.
and know that we can go back to it. That Gage Blackwood and Teresa Ames marrying each other a couple of years ago, which was like against Gage's will, was just I don't know ideas in my head. Now we can pull that back and stuff. So he's a he's a good guy and like he's game for whatever. And first off, he never complains
Mm,
about anything
mm.
in anything. I'm not even talking like e-fetting.
Right, right. No, that's awesome.
Game for whatever. He's doesn't have a bad word to say about anybody in the hobby. Never gets pissed off. I'm the asshole. I'm the one that has in real life and stuff like that. Sometimes a bit of a temper and can get frustrated. Like
Mm,
he's just chill. pretty much nonstop. So too chill sometimes to the point it drives me nuts. He doesn't say anything, but I mean
That's funny.
that's another.
Yeah, that's funny. All right. So is there a handler? Let's say you're able to coax one handler back to Defiance, and maybe 2 weeks ago it would have been Evan, maybe, but who is that handler? Is there somebody out there that like you're like, man, I want this person. I would love, even just for like either the camaraderie or the writing.
Yeah, I mean, I actually try to do that a lot. In Scott's channel, what I posted there was true. Like I tried to reach out to Will to get him back because Teresa Ames went through like this whole I'm in love with guys arcs phase. I think that was a little bit before you were here too. And she like stalked Jay Harvey
Yep.
for a while. And
Yep.
she was all over Jay Harvey. And I thought that would be such a good return for that match would be like, instead of Jack Harmon, which works.
Yep.
Still, the first choice was go to Will. That would be fun. And I said, you just come in for the day, or you can stay, or whatever.
Yep.
But he wasn't interested, which is fine. No worries. I've tried numerous times to say to Brian, here's some ideas on Scott Douglas. Yeah, you retire him. It's also wrestling. Like,
we can figure it out.
We can figure it out. Evan, I've gone to a few times before and was like, hey, come back. I don't know him really, who ran Eugene Dewey. I went back and looked at some of that stuff, and he's like a video game kind of character.
Right.
I have only briefly talked to him once or twice. I ended up finding his email a few years ago, and I emailed them, and I was like, hey, if you're ever interested in coming back or whatever for a show or whatever.
Yep.
But he just said, no, I'm not really interested. So I'm like, excuse me, no problem. But I think that maybe would be the guy just based off the character. And I've heard a lot of good things. And I think you do a lot of fun stuff with like him and Connor Hughes. So
absolutely. Yeah, no, that now that you say that seems ready made. All right. So, I'll give you the classic. You're familiar with F, Marry, Kill. This is the E-Fed version, the E-Wrestling version. It's push, put over, or bury, but it's handlers. So you get to push.
Barry Bryan.
All right, so Brian's
Sorry,
buried.
you give me a list. Oh, my bad.
No. So push, put over, bury. So you're burying Brian.
Yeah.
Who are you pushing?
Oh, were you giving me a list, or was that no?
No. This is yours. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna bury Brian. That's easy. Push. Okay, push, put over, and push. You know what? Just to make it so that I don't overlook, I'm just going to go to the roster for a second.
No worries. Actually, I can pull it up here too if you want, but whatever works.
I can go to backstage user accounts, and then that's even better. Yeah, step ahead, bro.
Yeah, I know, man. Use the tools, man. Use the tools.
Hey, I was going to let you know, I just wanted to say this while it's in my head before I forget.
Please.
Hey, if you're going to call somebody a fucking hypocrite online, then you got to be willing to.
Do you see my thing there? Oh, he's a fucking hypocrite. Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was funny. Listen, the clown meme was great. Let's talk about it. That was
no, I deserved it, man. If I'm going to dish it out to people, I deserve to get it back.
Well, listen, you were the guy. Listen, you're the guy. You're Mr. MOAR Channels. That was, and I understand. I understand what you were trying to do, and I respect it. But I'm like, I gotta. I've never had to beg Roland for a channel before. Like, and like this one actually serves a purpose.
I know. It's all good. Hey, in any actual, even though. Like that wasn't a real argument or so. Yes. But even in the sense of if I really do have an argument with somebody, I'd like to think give me like 24 hours or 48 hours to chill out and I'll come around on things. So it's all, you got the channel, so you win anyways.
Well, you're a man of the people, Roland. You're a man of the people.
Yeah. All right.
So you're going to push a handler, put over a handler, bury another.
All right. I'm going to push.
It's hard. I know it's stupid. It's stupid. I know.
No. It's all good. I'm gonna push. I'm gonna push two people. I'm gonna push Greg because I really like Terry Melton. And that's very not similar, but kind of vibes of like my one character in Prime.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Hallmark journey there, and I write with like just I had them in NPC and Defiance, just a couple that's obsessed with like finding their hallmark journey, and they love each other so much, but the reality is through the role plays, like it's just the biggest trash relationship you can ever think of. And he's a simp and she's massively controlling and very,
Yes, I love it. That's great. That's great.
and and try not to be like stereotypical or maybe sexist with it or anything like that, because you kind of get maybe a lot of what I hear in my job is the opposite. It's like the man who's that way. It's like, no, like I look at it like she's actually very, very smart and manipulative. And anyways, so Terry Melton. So I will push Greg, and I will also push the host of this show because he does a whole lot too. And you have a beautiful radio voice that could melt butter, and you do a lot, man. And I really appreciate all that stuff that you do. I appreciate what everybody does, and Straws and his
press conferences,
and
Ryan and Scott's, the Ryan Scott section. That's really coming alive on the Discord. All the the contract status, creative team, rumors. I'm trying to get. Looks like the shirt designs one is kicking off. So all that stuff is just subtle little bullshit role playing, or not. I'm sorry, world building.
Everything.
So much fun.
Everything and
brazen.
I'll push everybody, but those two, you and Greg, I will put over. I will never regret. I will certainly regret saying this. I will put over Ben and Henry Keys. But not over Connor. He can get put over one of my NPCs or something like that because he's never going to be Connor Fuse. And then I'm gonna. Man, there's a lot of people to bury here too, right? That was the other one, right? Barry.
Yep.
I'm just, it's easy for me to say I'm gonna bury Brock just because I know he's not like super active in Defiance right now, but it's easier for me to bury the person that I've known the longest in the hobby outside of my brother. So
that's a good one. And he's probably the least likely to be watching. Very fucking smart. Very smart, you son of a gun.
Into that one.
These damn Ermermanians. Oh my god. All right. Any parting words, sir? Thank you again for doing this. Any final thoughts or messages for our viewers? We got 7 or 8 people, I think, in the chat watching, somewhere around there. What do you have to say? Anything at all?
I appreciate writing with everybody. I hope everybody can kick around for as long as they would like. You need a break, come back. Creepy Justin can, take break, come back, write. It's like I said, I look at this like you're golfing with your buddies or just going to a game or whatever, having a dinner party, whatever you want to say. And we just hang out, have a good time, tell some stories. I think what one thing I really like about RP Feds though is you don't know who wins, right? And that I think draws. I love top 3 Emmermanian.
You're in the top 3. You're in there.
Yeah. I'm third place, maybe second right now. Will won't come back, but I digress. No, have fun. We kick around for as long as possible. I think one thing I actually feel pretty passionate about, what I'm trying to do more of is like try to create some surprises. Like, yeah, okay, I know the wins and losses. In fact, if anybody was to change it on me, like I totally bought that false finish of the Dangerous Mix winning the titles last arc, and I was like, oh shit, they changed it on me, and I was like, okay, cool, like all good. But to create more stuff like that, I asked Seth before. I was like, hey, I know what's going to happen with Ned Reform. Do you want to know? He's like, no, I'd rather kind of be surprised and create a few more things like that where maybe like the next person who wins the fist or gets a title or something along those lines.
Keep it tight.
I encourage, I mean, you do what you want, but I encourage, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And
it's so true. It's so true, Roland, because like that's why I'm in the hobby, for the surprises, for like building to those moments and trying to get somebody to react the way that I reacted. And I just the other night I was reading, I knew damn well how the finish had happened because I had scanned through anyway with LT and ADV. I had already scanned through, saw the finish. All right, cool. But when I was actually reading it, and they stopped the match, or it was like a double count out or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and then restarted it. Reading it for a minute, I got like swept up in the bullshit. I'm like, wait a minute, are they really? They can't fucking do that. Like, so to your point, I agree. It's like, how can you surprise people? Because that's what people remember too. I feel.
Well, and that's why I never wanted to be part of staff to begin with. It was like
You know too much.
I had a really good time when Defined was supposed to close, because it really was supposed to close for a little bit. I was living in Chicago at that time, and Mikey and Andy Murray was down from the UK and coming to Chicago, and Stevie JFK character was down too, and so we all met up. We went to a basketball game, like a Bulls game.
Nice.
And anyways, Murray was the champion at that time, and I think this was still, we were under the belief that Defiance was closing at that point. And I asked him, like, how was your arc really supposed to end? Because it was like, or sorry, Aunt Kale Murray was the fist, but
Right.
Mikey was trying to get it from him, and everybody kept failing and failing. And I was like, what was the end game? Because like I was really into that, and you had me a couple of times that I thought some of the pay-per-view losses were going to be losses. And like that stuff is cool to me. That's why I think with real wrestling, what's really hurt aspects of it are the spoilers of things, where I get caught up in like a little bit of that stuff, but I would like to rather just not know and just watch.
Yeah.
I think any ideas or ways that can be done, but yeah, my ending and parting, long-winded, once again, ramble, I'm sorry, is like, I don't know, I appreciate everybody being a part of things, having a good time, putting up with my bullshit on the Discord or everybody else's, and let's just go from there. So I'm not intending to leave anytime soon. I can write maybe this place when I'm 50 or something. If I'm alive that long, we'll see, right? So
Let's do it, man.
And thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, dude.
So
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Go
by the way, the next episode I will share is going to be a 4-person spectacular. It's going to be, I'm going to combine, it's the winners of the DEFCON ARC Spotlight poll that Lindsay voted in every fucking category for. It's going to be Ben and Billy for their Elise and Keys story, along with Seth and Straws for Burns and Resin. And that's going to be the next episode, whenever the hell we get 5 people's schedules to jive. That will be the real fucking miracle.
So just to cap this off, Lindsay voted for every single category, right? And then kind of made a mockery of your voting.
Yeah.
I think she deserves a lot of creepy clown memes and anything that you can send her way on her inbox. She also needs her Fruitopia, which is that's a long-winded story of why she hasn't got it yet, but I'm promising to send it to her within a couple weeks. I can't pack that stuff, man. Like, it's in cardboard boxes. I need like somebody who story for another time.
But Fruitopia, I was actually looking it up today, the story behind Fruitopia, because I was going to try and make that part of the game. But anyway, Roland, we'll do this again, man. I'd like to have you and your brother on at one point too, because I want to organize like a Jeopardy tournament of champions where I have like Billy and Ford go against each other. Joe already beat Gorman, so Joe advances. You versus Ross, and then maybe like Linz and Ben, or Seth and Marcus, or there's a lot of people actually and anybody else really. Yeah. So I do want to, at some point, I'd like to organize a tandem episode. So keep that in mind.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and until next time.